Okay. Okay, everybody. Sorry about that. This is going to be a part 2. Uh, we kind of had a little technical difficulties, but it kind of works out well because just as in a real live draft, you got to be able to roll with the punches and what's thrown at you. So we're rolling with it, and we're gonna pick it up. I'm gonna unpause this, and I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm gonna try to pick Terry McLaurin here real quick. There we go. So Terry McLaurin is my next pick. And now, while I lost out on Kyle Pitts coming back around, I still have George Kittle and Evan Ingram. Now, I'm not big on Evan Ingram. I'm really not. And the George Kittle ride just scares the bejesus out of me. I've had George Kittle. Well, I've seen what the George Kittle ride looks like. Very up and down. Sorry about that. Very, like I was saying, very up and down and very erratic. There's games where he's going to win you a week by himself, or he's going to destroy your team entirely. So I'm going to do here what is called punting the position. So when you punt a position, that means that you're going to just wait until somebody of value that you believe is later on in the draft. My target for that is one of two guys. I'm either going to pick TJ Hawkinson, and while TJ Hawkinson is hurt and probably won't start the season, he is a very good tight end. Now, I know that we have an IR spot on our roster, so if I pick TJ Hawkinson, that's great. I'm going to continue down and pick Pat Freiermuth as my backup tight end, who has probably one of, if not the best starts for the schedule to kick off the season. So we'll see how that works out. So right now I'm looking at quarterback. I got Joe Burrow, I got Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love, I love the offense with this. So I'm not going to pick him just yet. Let's look at what we got for wide receiver. Rashid Rice. Rashid Rice, very good pick right here, just for the simple fact that there's nothing that's come down with his legal issues to where he might be suspended for this year. So as it stands right now, he is intact. He's not suspended. So there is inherent risk in this, but I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and take that risk. Now, David Montgomery, very interesting pick right here. Coming back around, I'm going to leave that to see if he makes it all the way back down to Blaze, and we'll talk about that if that happens. So let me go ahead and take Rashid Rice with this pick, and let's see how this rolls. So Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, just out of reach. Now, you saw Blaze's reaction where he just went, oh, that is fantasy football, my friends.
Too. David Montgomery was the last runner back I had on my list.
So here's the thing. This is the dead zone of running backs. Okay. Guys who can be productive, but you're not really jumping up and down about. Okay. Now, what the last guy on this tier is still there, and that's James Conner. James Conner, there's nobody behind him in Arizona. He's always been a very rock steady running back. So if you want to go ahead, I would go ahead with James Conner right now and go ahead and take that.
So pretending Conner wasn't here, right? Mm-hmm. Like let's say he got picked up instead of Kirk or something. Would it be better for me to go ahead and get Jaden Reed and hope to get Jordan Addison. That way I just have all the best wide receivers and I can trade, like looking for that trade later on.
I understand the concept, but let me tell you this. It's always a bad idea to draft for the purposes of trading.
Okay.
The reason being is because you can't control whether or not that player is going to trade with you.
That's fair.
So we had this happen last year. One of the guys in our league, he was notorious for sending out garbage trade offers. But when you send him a legit trade offer, he didn't want to do anything because he didn't want to be gotten over on. He didn't want to be taken advantage of. So his mindset was totally different than what yours was going into the trade offer. So you've got to remember that we're not dealing with everybody the same mindset. So
yeah,
going in here thinking like, okay, well, if I get this guy, I can go ahead and trade him with this guy. Because if we look at, okay, for instance, look at team 1 and team 2.
Yeah. Team 1 is all runner backs, team 2 is all wide receivers, and they got better.
Now you would think that you could go ahead and trade those guys between each other. But who's to say that team 2 could care less about running backs and team 1 doesn't want to give up the guys that team 2 wants?
Yeah.
So that's the conundrum that you run into.
Okay, that's fair.
And as far as Jaden Reed goes, me personally, there are other Green Bay Packer wide receivers that you can take a lot later that are as much dart throws as he is. So here we saw Addison off the board. I'm glad that happened just for the simple fact that I didn't want you to even think about him, because we talked about Justin Jefferson a little earlier in the other part of this before we got cut off, and he's got a guard. He's the same deal, exact same quarterback you don't want. So when you got a bad quarterback, he's going to hyper target the best guy on the field. That's Justin Jefferson. Plus the fact that Jordan Addison is dealing with some legal issues himself where he might be suspended as well.
All right. So then I'm going to stick with my wide receiver strat for now.
Well, here's the thing. You're already really stacked with these 3 guys.
Okay.
So by being stacked with those guys, you've eliminated the need to be torn with lesser wide receivers.
Okay, that's fair.
So if we see these wide receivers here, guys like Jaden Reed, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, while those guys are good receivers, the people who are going to be making that decision are guys like me who went running back, or went, running back here in the middle and have to make a decision. Do I need another wide receiver, or can I go ahead and take another running back? And remember, we're playing PPR, which is points per reception. So wide receivers are more valuable in this setup. Okay. Or running backs who are going to be catching passes. Okay.
All right. Well, then I'm going to use a favorite pick for now. I think I'm going to go Javonte Williams with no, you don't think I should go with the favorite?
Here's the thing about Javonte. I get, and for those of you who may have missed earlier, Blaze did spend quite a bit of time in Colorado, and became what's the word I'm looking, enamored with the Denver Broncos. So look, I love Javonte Williams. I wish he hadn't gotten hurt, but he is far removed from the glory days that we once held for him. Plus the fact that Sean Payton is up there and he just drafted a new running back. So we're not exactly sure what Javonte Williams is going to be. Plus the fact that we can kind of get him a lot later. If you look at your ADP down here, Javonte Williams is down here, 92 overall.
Okay.
Okay. So we see all those guys down there. And then going up here, Tony Pollard is 12 spots higher. Okay. Now, Zamir White, who is 1 spot below Tony Pollard, is the lone back with the Raiders, who are a very run-heavy team. If you're picking a running back, you want a running back who's going to be on a run-heavy team. That's all that they want to do in Vegas is run, 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 run.
So I'm definitely going to lock him in.
Okay. So Xavier Worthy off the board, that would have been somebody that I would have actually been worth looking into, just for the simple fact that he's the burner. This guy broke the combine by being the fastest man to ever run the 40-yard dash.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so this dude's a burner. This guy is Tyreek Hill 2.0 is what he's been equated to when Tyreek was in Kansas City, and being partnered with a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who can get him the ball, and a coach in Andy Reid who can scheme for him to get open and to get him the ball. That's something that you want. They're going to want to get the ball into the hands of Xavier Worthy. So let me take a look. So I see right here, Kyler Murray has fallen back to me. Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott off the board. Jordan Love is there as well. So I've got no connection right now with Kyler Murray. And I'm thinking that Jordan Love's going to take another step this year. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take him. Actually, I take that back. This is reading the board. So Blaze, I want you to look at what's going on here. You see Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts right here on teams 11 and 12.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a draft and I'm looking at this and I'm trying to make a decision between, do I take my quarterback now, or if I click here and I hit all and I look at the best option off the board right now, because I went running back early, I can now take the number 1 wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, who they're going to have to throw the ball. So I'm going to take Calvin Ridley. And then we see Raheem Mostert, Lad McConkey, who is a rookie, but he's going to be the number 1 with the Chargers. Unfortunately, they are a run-first team as well. And then Nick Chubb, a value pick in the 8th. If you want to take a shot on Nick Chubb, I don't have a problem with that. The only thing is, don't expect him to get out of the gate quickly. This is going to be a guy that you're going to have to hold on to and see how things go with him. So now I've got a very long term. So I've got the entire rest of the 8th and the 9th till it gets back to me. So I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to go ahead and take Jordan Love right now. And we see Devontae Johnson, Christian Watson, another wide receiver for the Packers. Jaden Reed, another wide receiver for the Packers that was taken right after you selected Zamir White. DeAndre Hopkins, who's dealing with an injury. Now, Brooks here. Now, this is one of the cool things about Sleeper. I want to look at, it says show player card. It kind of gives you a little insight as to the player. So Jonathan Brooks, rookie out of college. He is currently on the PUP, on the PUP list, which is physically unable to perform. Okay, so he's dealing with injury. It says right down here that he's not expected to be ready until week 3 or 4. So why in the world would you take that guy in round 8? That's somebody that should not even be drafted. Now, this is what I'm trying to get you to avoid in our draft, is picking guys like this. So if you ever have a question in draft, during our draft on September 5th, or I'm sorry, on September 3rd, click on the guy and look at their card, get some insight, look at the analyst or the analysis right down here. So you won't see any action in the preseason. And for a rookie, that is crucial. They need to get in football shape. They need to get used to the speed, and they need to get used to being hit by guys who aren't on their team. So if you got a rookie who's not even seeing preseason snaps, that's bad.
Well, it
So
looks like I might actually. I don't know if I need another runner back.
well, okay, you're at the point now where you're building depth, and you have the luxury of picking, you're going to go to all and see who the top guys are. Okay.
Yeah, so David and Zach, or who else? David
David
Noku.
Njoku, tight end. You don't need a tight end. You've already got that locked up.
Yeah.
Zach Moss, he's in a timeshare right now, and he's a running back. So when I say a timeshare, that means that he's a committee back, which means that he has another guy in the backfield who's going to be taking time and touches from him.
I see.
Austin Eckler is, even though he's with my Washington team, and I love him to death, and he's been absolutely phenomenal for fantasy football, I'm kind of laying off of Austin Eckler because I don't know how they're going to use him. Now, if we go down here to Brian Thomas, I like Brian Thomas. Again, another wide receiver out of LSU, a deep threat. If you want to go running back, I personally would suggest Jalen Warren as kind of a dart throw at running back.
I think. All right. I'll trust it.
So Jalen Warren, running back out of Pittsburgh. Now, the 411 on him is he is actually very involved in the passing game when it comes to passing downs, and he's a good runner. So Brian Thomas, good choice on that one. And we see Gus Edwards, Devin Singletary, Trey Benson as running backs off the board. Jackson Smith and Jigba right after you pick Brian Thomas. Very interesting pick there. A lot of people are saying that he's going to supplant Tyler Lockett in Seattle as the number 2 behind DK Metcalf. They have an entirely new coaching staff coming from the University of Washington with the Huskies, fresh off of their loss in the national title game to Michigan. And the guys coming over from there, they have a very good playbook for Jackson Smith and Jigba. We call them JSN for short. So you could have flip-flopped those picks, and it would probably be the exact same guy as far as the perception now as we stand preseason goes.
Okay.
So
You're on.
go ahead.
I'm gonna wait till we're done with the draft, and I'll ask because it's just how teams are set up. It's kind of my next questions. Now I'm looking at my team.
So now I can do one of two things here. I can either take TJ Hawkinson now, or I can totally punt the position, just go ahead and pick up Pat Freiermuth. So I'm going to look at who my running backs are. Now, it surprises me that Austin Eckler is going above Brian Robinson Jr., while Eckler has been begging for a limited workload at the running back position, and I think that's what he's going to get there in Washington. Let's look at my roster real quick. So I got Jordan Love as my quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams as my running backs, and then Jalen Waddle and Malik Neighbors, and then Terry McLaurin, Rashid Rice, Calvin Ridley. So not too much volatility, with the exception maybe of Neighbors because he's a rookie, and maybe Terry McLaurin because he is attached to a rookie quarterback with Jaden Daniels. So I've only got the 2 running back. So let me go ahead and I'll take now. See Ezekiel Elliott down here with Dallas. I don't care what condition my lineup is in. I will never, ever, ever, never, ever take a Dallas player ever, even though it's a mock draft. So I'll go ahead and take him. Now, Blake Corum's off the board. Now, Blake Corum's a very interesting pick here, just for the simple fact that if Kyren Williams, actually, you know what? This probably should have been my pick. I haven't been really taking a lot of Kyren Williams, so I really haven't to think along these lines. But in hindsight, Blake Corum is what we call a handcuff to my starting running back. So if he were to go down to injury, I want Blake Corum. So that probably in hindsight should have been my pick in that instance. So let's see here. Take a look at the board. Everybody's got tight ends, so I'm good at not taking a tight end. And I see that Tua Tagovailoa is sitting here at the 107. He is 3 picks away. So I'm going to go ahead and take my stack with Tua. And I see TJ Hawkinson go off the board right there. Now you see this team 8, they went ahead and took back-to-back quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay. That's taking quarterbacks really late and then taking a very early turn on your backup. Justin Herbert, I'm not touching him with the 10-foot pole, and I wouldn't put him on anyone else's team either, simply because he's got he's dealing with foot injury right now, so I'm good with that. So we're gonna go up here. We're gonna look at you got CJ Stroud.
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence is an interesting pick. Let's see.
At least go with my Brian Thomas, right?
Yeah, he would stack. So if you want the double stack to where if something happens to CJ Stroud, you still have a stack.
Oh, but I could also, well, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. Even though this was out of the draft pick.
Right. Because you see Jaden Daniels with Washington went the pick immediately after you picked Trevor Lawrence. So if you hadn't taken a quarterback then, it's very possible that team 2 could have taken their backup quarterback as well, as opposed to taking a backup tight end, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, I'm not definitely wasn't planning on a backup tight end.
No.
Not for anything in particular, just I don't expect much.
Now, Curtis Samuel, I do like this pick here, just for the simple fact. And actually, we're going to make this our last round because I just realized that we're in the 11th. So,
all right. We'll go Chase Brown.
So I'm going to go ahead and take Pat Frymuth here. And we are going to end the draft.
All right. Well, I feel good with my draft, though I definitely feel like I need to look at people more. Like just get more teams down and know what the teams do, because I don't know what anyone does aside from the Saints and my good old Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Doing the research now. As I've said before, this channel is great for information. It's great for the newbies. However, I do recommend that you listen to the guys from Fantasy Footballers, who I always tag down in the bottom in my description for my videos, and Fantasy Pros. Those guys do a lot of stats. You would probably enjoy them. They're very stat driven. I personally don't like throwing too much stats out. A couple of reasons. One, I don't get paid to do this. And 2, stats, you can kind of cherry pick them, because I've heard both of those different podcasts speak on the same player with opposing views. And both of them have have statistics to back up their arguments. So, you can kind of cherry pick the stats depending upon what argument you want to make about what player. But
Yeah, so
yeah,
you could say
if you look at the environment of the player, that's when you really get the decision.
all right.
So
Well,
I hope this was helpful.
I think so. I actually got a couple questions. So like how I have my three picks at the bottom, wide receiver, runner back, right? I could pick either one. It's like my wild card, I guess, kinda, right?
Okay, what are you talking about now?
Our last three are really not
Okay,
our last three picks, but the
Chase
not
Brown.
but I would say it's like half wide receiver, half runner back.
Oh, okay. That's what we call our flex position.
Okay,
So,
flex.
now typically you have maybe two flex positions or one flex position. Because we don't run with a defense or a kicker, we have replaced those positions with flex positions.
Okay,
So it allows you to pick more positional players as opposed to picking guys who or positions that are extremely volatile and kind of up in the air. You never know, like a defense, they could just face a really bad offense and just get 30 points for you. And that's not fair because the very next week, they could get you zero or negative because
right.
they face a really good offense. And then you have kickers who, if they're on a really bad offense that can't get touchdowns, then that kicker is phenomenal because all they're
Okay.
doing is kicking field goals.
So do all of what is it? Our first nine picks. All those guys, are they scoring us points? Like, do we get a set nine players?
All your starters will get points for you that goes toward your match for your matchup for that week. So
Okay.
in our league, we have one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and then three flex positions.
Oh, okay,
So
perfect.
all of those guys, and it'll be your nine players that you're starting that week.
Perfect. All right. Well, then I think I am ready to draft and kick some butt.
Look forward to it. For everyone who is interested, we will be doing a live from the draft right up until draft time. Uh, Watching a live draft is boring as all get out, and I'm not going to put my viewers through that. But I do want everybody to be able to put faces to names. I've been talking about Blaze for a while. Now everybody gets to see what he looks like. We're going to see him at the draft at Zia. And speaking of which, guys, remember my sponsor Zia. You can find them at 235 Duce Road, Lafayette, Louisiana. If you mention that you heard about them on this show, you show them that you subscribe to my channel, you can get for your table any appetizer you want. My buddy Leonard down there gave me the go ahead and he gave me his blessing to offer this to my viewership. So make sure that you go down 235 Duce Road. It's right behind the Grand Theater off of Johnson Street in front of Red Laurel's Health Club. And if you're in need of catering, make sure that you call Andy at 337-406-0013. Let him hook you up with some grits that if you put some in your pocket and you walk around town, you can pretty much trade them for just about anything as long as people like grits. So also look, the ribs are to die for. And as far as the appetizers that you can get for free, look, the ancho shrimp is great. You can get a hummus. The hummus is off the chain. We've actually been voted one of the top hummuses in town. So go ahead, check them out. Make sure that you tell Zia that you heard about them from Neil on Faith in Football. Get your free appetizer for your table. And don't forget that at the live draft on September 3rd, that we're going to be seeing my buddy Dusty from Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. You can find him at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, Louisiana. Make sure that you go by there. We're going to be doing a live from there, kind of show you how things are done, show you what they got, and see what we can get from my viewership down there. As if you tell them that Neil sent you from Faith in Football. And last but not least, Omni's Groceries. You can find them downtown at 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square, downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. Tell Bradley down there that Neil says hi. And remember, they have over 200 local items from over 50 vendors that are all local to Lafayette. Farm fresh eggs, beef, pork, you name it, they got it. They even got the freeze-dried candy. If you can't find it anywhere else, you can find it down at Ami's Grocery downtown at 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square. So that's all my sponsors. Blaze, appreciate you taking the time out for this mock draft. And guys, we're going to be doing a lot of other mock drafts. I'm going to be rolling through it by myself for the foreseeable future, right up until draft day. We're going to kind of show you little ins and outs, kind of give my insight to what strategies are out there that you can implement. So if you need help with your draft, make sure that you tune in. And as always, I thank you for tuning into Faith in Football. And remember, football's good, but God is greater. Blaze, thank you much again. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you in your upcoming wedding. Love you, buddy.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for teaching me about football and getting me ready for the fantasy league.
No worries, man. Guys, y'all take it easy. Have a blessed day. And thank you for tuning in to Faith in Football.